You are watching KAVU 25 News Now weekends at 5:30.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Karina Garcia. Everyone's eyes on Beryl this evening. Let's check in with First Warn Storm Team meteorologist Trey Mining for the latest.
Yes, we're starting to feel the effects of Beryl as we speak, courtesy of some rain bands coming on through. Here's one moving toward Victoria as we speak now. They'll be coming on through. It'll die down for a while. Another one will come on through. They'll become more and more numerous as we get closer to the hurricane center crossing the coastline. And so that'll be something to anticipate for the next few hours. Once the center moves inland, it'll be a continuous area of rain and wind. Looks like it'll be more than likely to the east of Victoria, but we can't let our guard down here in the city because we'll still feel some effects of it. It's still a tropical storm, but looking at the satellite picture here, it's very impressive to me. It looks very hurricane-like. And if you notice, it looks like an eye is trying to develop right there in the center. So I would not be surprised in the next advisory that comes out that this is upgraded to a hurricane. We've been watching that for quite a while. Looks like I wouldn't be surprised if that finally gets upgraded as it heads toward the coast. It has a short little area as the cover of open water for it to become a stronger hurricane. So it's moving fairly quickly. So it'll be out through your day tomorrow, and then pretty much out of here by late on Monday night. We have to get to that point, though. We got a lot to talk about. We'll cover it all a little bit later on in this half hour. Karina?
Trey, thank you. Saturday, Refugio County issued a mandatory evacuation. The order says the area is still recovering from the devastating effects of Hurricane Harvey back in 2017. Emergency services, personnel, and first responders in Refugio are limited. County leaders are also concerned about heavy traffic from the 4th of July holiday. And St. Joseph High School Dome in Victoria is now open as a shelter. Residents can use cots, access showers, and even find mental health resources at the shelter. Residents should only bring essential items with them when they arrive.
We want you to bring your essential items if you're on medical, if you have medical equipment that you need, obviously not a hospital bed, but if you've got a CPAP or have medical medications that you need, please bring those with you.
St. Joseph High School is at 110 East Red River in Victoria. The shelter will take in anyone at any time during the storm. The Salvation Army of Victoria will also serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, there's also a second shelter in Bloomington at the Bloomington Elementary School Dome. That's at 200 North Leonard. The city of Palacios is also opening a shelter at the Central Elementary Cafeteria. And homes and businesses along the Texas Gulf Coast are getting ready for Tropical Storm Beryl. As of Sunday this morning, the storm is bringing 65-mile-an-hour winds. The center of Beryl is expected to strengthen before making landfall. A voluntary evacuation order is in place for some areas in the Gulf Coast. That includes Calhoun County. A storm surge warning is now in place for areas from St. Louis Pass to High Island, including that Galveston Bay area. And reporter Zach Brown is in Port Lavaca right now, getting a first-hand look at those hurricane preparations. Zach, what can you tell us?
Lots of anticipation for what Beryl could bring to the crossroads. It is currently a tropical storm with the fear that it could become a hurricane by the time it touches land. Now, we're here in Bayfront Peninsula in Port Lavaca. On our way in from Victoria, you could definitely see how dark the clouds were on our way in, and the gusts of wind have definitely picked up. Now, of course, here in Calhoun, the evacuations were not mandatory, but as Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez told me, just because they were not mandatory doesn't mean that you should not seek shelter and shelter in place. You should always shelter in place, be careful, and make sure all your belongings are tied down. There's also the fear for a potential storm surge, which of course could cause massive flooding. Mac Perez told me that in a storm like this, down power lines and down trees is usually the minimum damage to expect, which is always very much dangerous. Now, in Victoria, tropical force winds are expected to arrive by midnight, maybe even a little bit earlier. There are a lot of people here at Bayfront Peninsula who are storm chasing and just checking it out. Certainly wouldn't recommend that. You want to be careful in a storm like this. Reporting live from Bayfront Peninsula, Zach Brown, KVU TV 25 News Now Sports.
Zach, thank you. And of course, people all along the Texas Gulf Coast are preparing for the arrival of Beryl. Residents are boarding up and stocking up. Beryl is currently a tropical storm expected to re-strengthen into a hurricane before making landfall. Beryl is currently moving through the Gulf at 12 miles per hour and will likely make landfall, of course, like we've been saying, sometime early Monday morning between the hours of 2 to 3.
It frustrates the locals a little bit, you know. They just think it's going to be some grand rainstorm, but it's really not. We take it very serious, especially after the Harvey situation.
And the city of Houston is already feeling the effects of the storm, leaving some streets underwater, making it tough for drivers there. And over in Corpus Christi, people were out gathering sandbags in preparation for the storm, which is forecast to bring several inches of rain and up to 5 feet of storm surge there. Shelters along the coast are preparing as well, making sure they have space for people who may be displaced by Beryl. Officials with one shelter in Harlingen say it's important for people to bring in anything they may need with them as they ride out the storm.
Medications are very important for any individual coming into the shelter because with the weather, we don't want to rely on EMS to try to, get to our area when there might be someone else in need.
Hurricane Beryl has already torn through parts of the Caribbean and Mexico, killing at least 9 people. And Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick issued a disaster declaration for a total of 121 counties in response to Hurricane Beryl. 9 counties in the Crossroads are listed. That's including Calhoun, DeWitt, Goliad, Jackson, Lavaca, Matagorda, Refugio, Victoria, and Wharton. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is the acting governor, while Governor Greg Abbott is out of the country on an economic development mission. So here is your viewer poll. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen to vote. The question is, did you evacuate ahead of Beryl? Yes or no? According to our results, it looks like 14% voted yes, and the remaining 86% stand at no. Thank you for voting. We want to hear from you on this. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and I will have an update on 25 News Now at 10. Around 2 p.m., the state of Texas held a press conference. Leaders are urging everyone from the coastal areas to Houston up to College Station to be prepared for the storm.
Coastal, inland, and the Houston area are the 3 areas that I see that I want to be sure everyone is alert. Yesterday, I declared an additional 81 counties in the disaster area, so we are now at 120 counties in the disaster area. You may ask why? One of the reasons as this storm moves, and the good news is that it looks like it will move quickly through the state. If you'll remember Harvey many years ago, that storm hung around for days at a time because it slowed down, dumping rain on rain and rain. This will be a heavy rain event, but the storm will move quickly, at least as the forecast is right now, and that is subject to change. But it will go up through the state. So areas like College Station could see significant rain and flooding. So could Tyler, Texarkana, and other communities. Once again, that's on this track. If this track moves, which it often does in the last 12 hours to 15 hours of a hurricane coming ashore, then all communities inland should be prepared for heavy rain and potential flooding, and that's why you need to listen to your local officials as well in your local forecast for where you live. On the coast, we have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who are spending their summer vacation there, holiday weekend on top of that, and there is a concern that because they're not in their daily routine of watching the news or checking their internet or checking their emails, that they may not be aware of this storm. One of the things that kind of trigger our concern a little bit, we've looked at all of the roads leaving the coast and the maps are still green. So we don't see many people leaving. And what you will hear from our chief of our emergency management team, Nim Kidd, in a few moments, is that you don't want to be on the road tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a bad day for weather. This storm is predicted right now by the National Hurricane Center to land somewhere between Corpus Christi and Galveston Island. So if you're at Galveston, you may say, oh, it's down in Corpus. If you're at Corpus, you're saying, gee, it's coming right here. This can change, and very often will change, as we've seen from past storms. The National Hurricane Center actually says their average change of where they predict a storm to fall and where it falls can be 50 to 60 miles in the last 12 to 15 hours. So we could see movement on the storm. But right now, if you're between Corpus and Galveston, be prepared. Be prepared as we are trying to prepare here. Look, our number one mission in the state, and Nim Kidd's number one mission, and your local mayors and your local county judges and officials, is to save your life.
Of course, if you have not signed up to receive emergency notifications with Code Red, please do so right now to stay informed with the city's updates on Hurricane Beryl. To sign up to receive these emergency notifications, text Alert Victoria to 99411. Again, that's text Alert Victoria to 99411. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 5:30, the search for a missing little girl continues. We hear from her father this evening.
And we're zoomed in here to the storm. It looks very hurricane-like to me. It's not that far offshore. Here's the core of the storm. Only about 160, 170 miles south of Matagorda Bay. Moving to the north, northwest, toward this area right here. We'll give you the details on that coming up.